Join us every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific with your friends and families because we all want and deserve to be wealthy, happy, and healthy. And this podcast is done with the G100 Global Networking and powered by Anchor FM by Spotify. Anchor FM is this super awesome free podcast made easy platform. And for this week, we are so very honored to have Don L. Price with us. Welcome to the podcast, Don. Thank you so much for joining us. Would you mind sharing with our audience here what is it that you do?
Well, I appreciate that, Dr. Tan, and I appreciate the invitation. What I do is a very simple process. I'm a professional hypnotherapist, mindset coach, speaker, and writer. So I've been working for the last 20 years with my private practice and helping people overcome doubt, fear, procrastination, lose weight, do a lot of other things in life that they want to do. And prior to that, I had 20 years of experience speaking as a professional speaker throughout the United States, Mexico, and Bogota, Colombia.
Wow, that is super amazing. So, professional hypnotherapist. Now, what brings you? And you mentioned prior to that you were a speaker. So, what brings you to become a professional hypnotherapist? Is it something like you grew up and you were mesmerized by it and, and always want to become one, or it's something that actually takes you to become a professional hypnotherapist?
Well, what happened during the late 70s, the last 3 years, 78, 79, and 80, I went through a lot of the human potential training programs like EST, LifeSpring, a lot of those that were available. Mm-hmm. And I participated, and I was going to become a trainer for LifeSpring. And my intuition said, no, it's not going to last. So I followed my intuition in that one. But in the meantime, I had understudied an individual who was a fantastic hypnotherapist, but he's deceased now. So I'm just going to leave his name out of the game. Mm-hmm. But I learned a lot about self-hypnosis. And so my application for self-hypnosis was for myself. Now, we all go through hypnotherapy. We all go through hypnosis, either intentionally or unintentionally. And it's called the brain. Okay. It's called habit mind. And we're learning more and more about the habit mind. So I did that for until 1979. No, excuse me. Let's take that back. I did that until 1998. I got into a ski accident and I thought, whoa, I've got to resolve this in myself because I was banged up. Okay. I was on morphine and I hated morphine and, you can get overdosed on morphine and go away. Yeah. But anyway, I wasn't going to do that. So make a long story short, I just decided when the doctor told me I was going to be in the hospital for about 14 days, I told my partner, I looked at him and I said, I don't think so. I said, I'll be out of here in 4 days. Watch me. So I went into a mindset and I started curing my body. I started healing it. And it was like every cell, every muscle, every organ in my body is whole, pure, perfect, and functioning at excellence. And I visualized that and I experienced that. I experienced the emotional aspect of it. And 4 days I was out of the hospital. Wow. However, I still had some residual effects that I had to resolve. And so I decided, I joined a friend. He asked me to come into his program. And I said, okay. And he says, how much do you know about hypnosis? I says, I know everything about self-hypnosis because I'm just going through the curing process, the healing process. And he says, well, let me just teach you a few things. And he taught me a few things and I just gravitated to it. So he certified me in that. And then I worked 20 years in that, 22 years. And then recently since the pandemic, I pulled out, went on Zoom and mobile. And Zoom has been a wonderful platform to help people overcome their problems. So That's what I'm doing now.
Wow, that is so fascinating, and it's wonderful that you are able to do your work remotely now, triggered by the lockdown. But that is interesting because for many people who are not familiar, because when I'm listening to you, I didn't hear anywhere in there where you're sitting there, looking at a pendulum or turning yourself to behave like chicken, right? And for many people who are not familiar with hypnosis, they're like, Okay, so you're going to be looking at this pendulum swinging back and forth, and
No, there's,
you're going to quack like chicken or something silly like that. So
yeah.
hypnosis is not that way. Tell us more about what is really hypnosis is then, if it is not looking at a pendulum or quacking like chicken temporarily.
Actually, no. I mean, that's an old, I remember the Spengali movies and the pendulums and the candles. And, that's kind of an old form. It was kind of television or stuff like that. So, no, I've never used a pendulum, never used a candle, never used, it's all about voice intonation and it's about words. See, what happens is our subconscious mind on a repetitive basis will listen to things over and over and over. And that programs the subconscious mind. We live 90% of our life, about 92% of our life out of our subconscious mind and not our conscious mind. So, and we were developed and we came to an understanding within the subconscious mind by the time we were 6, from, the time we came out of our mother's womb to age 6, we were programmed. We mirrored, we modeled, we did examples, we listened, and we were influenced by family and friends and neighbors and relatives. And that pretty much set our reality. And then by the time we're about 26, we're locked in. It's a lock mechanism, okay? So to try to get out of those old habits and behaviors can be very difficult, but you can do it very effectively and very efficiently through self-hypnosis and through hypnotherapy treatment and various things. So it's just a matter of when somebody comes to me, they'll say, well, let's give an example. I'm very stressful, and a lot of people are stressful today. There's a lot of fear since the pandemic. There's a lot of untrust in political environments and stuff like that. So people want to break through that so they can feel more comfortable with themselves. So it's just a matter of finding out and doing a needs assessment, getting to the core of what the problem is. Sometimes it goes all the way back to childhood. Abusive fathers, abusive mothers, sexual abuse. It can be, bullying through school. And all of this stuff affects our behavior. And so what we have to do is regenerate and revitalize a new behavior, so to speak. That's probably the easiest way to put it. And you can do that through hypnosis. And then I teach them really to utilize self-hypnosis. Because if they don't know how to use self-hypnosis, they continue to talk to themselves in a very negative pattern. And when you talk to yourself negatively, what are you going to do? You're going to run your life negatively. So it's very important. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned briefly just now that we all go through hypnosis. And for some of our audience, I suspect I know what you mean. But for some of our audience, they might say, what do you mean we all go through hypnosis? I've never been through hypnotherapist, and I've never been, I definitely have no idea on how to hypnotize myself. So tell our audience, what do you mean by that? We all go through hypnosis.
Well, let me give you an idea. You ever driven down the freeway and you missed an off ramp? Okay. Or you missed a road or a turn that you're going to take. Well, you're focused and concentrated on something other than going down the freeway and turning. So you're kind of in that second stage of your brain where you go into basically beta alpha, and you're down into alpha, and then you can go into theta, and then you go into delta. But when you're in theta, that's when you're just sitting there and you're kind of just mesmerized by a movie or something, and you're going into, you're listening to this through theta, and theta is hypnosis, pure hypnosis. That's just the bottom line. When we get into delta, basically we're asleep. That's where you have REM sleep, and you can see the child, dreaming. And if you ever laid next to somebody and they were their eyes are going all over, they're in a dream state. So anyway, when we get into that, just and from beta, which is consciousness, to alpha, okay, we're kind of there, and we're just absorbing and listening. And so we can program our mind through that, okay? But when we get down into theta, we're really programming. So we go in and out of, I guess the best word is we go in and out of states, altered states sometimes. Yeah.
So the states where you kind of feel a little bit like you're just preoccupied, you're just absorbing and listening. When you hear something in the news, and then you stop on your track and let the dinner burn and captivate yourself and kind of like start believing on whatever they say. It's basically what you being hypnotized by
Right.
whatever they're saying in there.
Well, and the media uses hypnosis language, hypnotic language very, very well. See, repetition is the key to learning.
Mm.
And when somebody said a cigarette tastes good like a okay, if so when people come in they want to quit smoking, they know all these jingles. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Okay, and they go, oh yeah, where did I learn that? Repetition. What kind of cigarettes do you smoke? Oh, I smoke. Yeah, that's what I smoke, Winston. Okay. Camels were the same way. The
Wow.
cowboy, we always remember. I mean, there's just a Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, you name it. So any commercial that you're listening to over and over and over, double your fun with double mint gum. Okay,
Ah.
now these are old slogans, but people in their 60s and 70s recognize this and they understand that. People, the young teens, you know, the new millennials and everything, I think going further down, but they have their own little slogans they listen to over and over and over. And when you listen to rap, when you listen to music, how do you learn the words and all of a sudden you're singing it and you're not even thinking about it. You're combing your hair, you're singing the song, and so you're being programmed. There's no question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the young or actually cross generations nowadays is one of the things. It's like the Apple product. Like, get your
Right.
iPhone and it's like, hello, talking about being hypnotized by by things
Right.
like that. It's very interesting. Yeah, you mentioned that. I think I did sort of like a self hypnosis to start eating healthy. When I was in clinic, I used to have all these, you know, a lot of time the doctor's clinic, the people bring donuts and bagels all the time,
Right.
every day. And then at some point I said, am I'm stopping this. This is just not, nothing's against bagel and donuts if anybody loved them, but it's just not serving me. And so I start telling myself literally that donut give me stomach ache and bagel give me headaches, and they donuts make me feel awful, bagels make me feel awful. I stop eating them like that. So
Yeah, that's true. And you know,
no.
when your intentions are clear,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because there's a four category matrix that I look at. Number one, you have to know what your objective is, your goal. Okay, so you want to quit eating bagels. That's the goal. Okay, so how do you do that effectively and efficiently? Number one, you have to visualize that you're not eating that bagel. You're doing something else. You're supplementing that with something that's healthy and nutritional. Okay, the other thing is you have to repeat it over and over and over in a repetitive manner. Then you have to have a why. Why do you want to do it? Why do you want to eliminate? Because you want to be thin, trim, firm, solid, healthy, and happy. Okay. And it's that kind of attitude, it's that kind of intuition, and it's kind of an intuitive process too. But it's the intentional process with a why.
That's wonderful. Yeah, my why is like, yep, I prefer to be feeling better in my own body. So and
Yeah.
then so that's wonderful. So from your experience helping people all these years, do you have any tip in particular, say one or two tips, so people who or with people that just now come to realizations that we're all been hypnosis and hypnotized, and
Right.
it's like, do you have any one or two tip for people in general in creating their joyfully rich life in
Yeah.
more ways?
I think I would ask people to listen to their own thoughts. What are they thinking about? Because see, what happens is everybody thinks we have a thought, then we have an emotion. Well, if you're afraid of something, where's that coming from? That's going to go into your guttural stomach area, or it's going to go into your heart. So your heart picks up the emotional aspect, and then it translates it into the thought process. It's like, I'll give you an example. I was walking across the street the other day, it just come to me right now, but there was a girl that was walking with me, and she blurted out, "Oh my God, that car almost hit me." And I thought, wow, that's interesting. And she got angry. She got frustrated because she thought she was going to be hit. And I turned to her and I says, you know what? It's wonderful that you experienced the idea that you were getting out of the way of the car. But the bottom line is the car didn't hit you. Okay, it didn't hit you. But if you keep saying that to yourself, these car, you're going to be looking at a car every time you cross, go a crosswalk. Now it's good you do that. That's a good behavior. But if it puts fear into your body, that's disease making.
Mhm.
You got to watch out about fear because fear is basically creating disease in your body. And, people will be a lot more healthier if they can eliminate some of the things that they think about. So just remember that the tip is you feel the emotion. The emotion comes in, or the anguish, or the guttural feeling that you just get. It's like, oh, or I ate something and I go, oh, I feel sick. Okay, again, it's an emotion. And then you think, oh, I'll never eat that again. That's terrible. Yeah, and so you never eat it again. So we do program ourselves very, very well. We're good at it. And we can deprogram ourselves just as well.
Right, right. So keep watch out what your thoughts saying and what your feelings, and make sure you're not programming yourself to the
Right.
point of fear. That's really interesting. You said fear causes a lot of disease.
Fear and stress and anxiety. Yeah. Our blood pressure goes up, everything
Mhm.
goes up. It creates heart disease. We also, it messes up our immune system. And I really believe because I don't have the flu. I've never had the pandemic. I've never had the virus. Um, And I believe that's because I choose not to have it. There's choice in life. And I don't fear being around people that
Mhm.
have it. And so that's my own testimonial to my self-hypnosis.
That's
Now, will that work for everybody? No, because not everybody believes as deeply as I do. And that's really, and it's kind of having that heart coherence with the brain
yeah.
you know. And I know that there's a lot of people who are now talking about heart and brain coherence, but the reality is, I experienced that uh, probably back when I was doing the LifeSpring and Est. I felt that there was a lot of emotion that I was going
Mhm.
through because
Mhm.
I was going through a divorce at the same time. So going through that emotion and feeling it, and experiencing it, and then thinking about it, it just kind of made sense to me.
Yeah.
And then later on, I watched different doctors and uh, cell biologists and everybody else talking about the brain and talking about the heart and the coherence between the two. And then we got into epigenetics. So everything that we've always experienced. Now, this is kind of strange because if you go back into the Bible, it says what you think about comes about, right? I mean, there's verses like that.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, well, now science and spiritualism is coming together and it's validating everything. And as a
Yeah.
doctor, you know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, now
Yeah.
science is beautiful and wonderful, and in a way it's at least several steps behind.
Yeah.
And as you said, but some this will offend some doctors for sure out there and scientists, but for somebody who, as somebody that I have learned from both sides, I would say, like what you said, the heart coherence and things like that. The HeartMath Institute's been the forerunners in like the heart intelligence, and you can create
Yeah.
coherence and things. While people like you have experienced that since back in when you started, and being able to, like you said, create a healthy life by saying, which is actually very interesting, because our guest the other week has said the same thing. He
Yeah.
says, I live he live in northern Canada, and it's like everybody when the winter says, oh, it's cold, I'm gonna get sick. It's like, no, I don't have that in my dictionary. I stay healthy all the time. So there you
Right.
go. If you're listening to this and you want to stay healthy, listen, do what Don says, and that is focus and trust that you are healthy, and there is no all these other things out there. Don't let fear have you. So to say, that
Right.
is such wonderful information and tips, Don. How do people connect with you if they want to learn more from you, and perhaps have your help?
Well, what they can do is they can just go to my website, donlprice.com, and take a look around and look at the testimonials. And then there's links on there where you can go in to have a Zoom free conference, a half an hour Zoom meeting where we discuss things at length. And then at that point in time, if you feel comfortable and you want to go through several sessions or a program, then we can go ahead and sign you up there. So just so people know, I do Zoom and sometimes I do mobile. And then because there are people centrally located around within a 5 mile span of Westwood, they can basically, if they want, they can come over to my apartment. We work there, and it's very comfortable and very serene, and candle lights and the whole thing. So it makes it comfortable. It's about making people comfortable and receptive so that they're willing to change and go through the process.
Super. So you're able to do mobile, and if you are in Los Angeles, even if you're not right in Westwood area, it's worth the drive to meet Don, because as you see, he's full of wealth of information, knowledge, and definitely will help you change your life. So that's donlprice.com. Without it just all continuous
Just
one.
DonLPrice.com. Give you lowercase or yeah.
Super, super awesome. As we wrap our conversations today, do you have one final message for our audience?
Yes. Treat yourself well, love yourself, respect yourself, and honor your accomplishments.
That is beautiful. Treat yourself,
Thank you.
respect yourself, honor yourself, and your accomplishments. I love that. That
Right.
is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Don. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your times and your tips with us today. And for you, friends who are listening to this, please share one or two gold nuggets in the comments so we can continue learning from each other. And thank you for joining us. Please share this podcast with your friends and family so they too can triumph and thrive. And this is Dr. Birgit Tan, your grief transformation specialist for individuals and businesses, founder of the International Childhood Cancer Charity, and United States country chairs for G100 Global Networking All Ladies League. You, my friend, make it a thriving, wonderful life, and I look forward to see you again 8:30 a.m. Pacific next week.